as a coach, your responsibility is for your students to get results. And the best way for a coach to get their students results is going on these coaching calls, right? Your students are going to be asking you questions. You're going to be showing them exactly what they need to do in order to accomplish their goals. So me and Brian actually do coaching calls for our students, and we have different techniques, different ways that we are able to help them. So in today's episode, we're going to talk exactly about what we are focused on our coaching goals. So before we get started, Brian, how's it going?
Yeah, it's going great, man. I'm excited about this topic. And for those of you who are tuning in, basically what we're going to focus on is basically mostly content strategy going forward for this year. But also, I think we're going to talk a little bit about funnels and the systems that you need in place. So I'm excited for this call. I think there's going to be a lot of value. Um, Great ideas for anyone who runs a coaching program. That's apparent because when we were sharing our strategies, I think we were kind of like excited about listening to each other and getting ideas. I know I was taking notes about some of the stuff you do. But also, if you're kind of new to the game and you feel like, oh, I got things going, but I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. I don't know what problems I should be looking for. And I don't know what potential landmines there are out there yet because you're just started. I think this is going to be an incredibly valuable episode. So, yeah, I'm excited about it.
Yeah, and it's awesome because we're brainstorming kind of ideas, right? And then what are the things that you do? What are the things that I do? And then it kind of links up in our minds, right? We're like, okay, well, maybe I should add this to my program too, because I have got stuff from your program too, and I'm like, okay, this is cool. The way I like the way he's doing this, so I'm gonna incorporate it to mine. So it's cool that we have that relationship where we can just share ideas and then implement because that's important too, right? If you don't implement, then it's not gonna work.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. I remember I was talking to you about, chargebacks, which is an unfortunate part of running your own digital products or coaching business. And, I was having issues with some people on my month to month plan because they sign up for a month and then they forget they did. And then they're like, what's this? And then they dispute the charges. But like you said, I know you combated this issue by adding lines to your checkout page to accept address and zip code and all that stuff. So, I mean, that's the first thing I did is I implemented that, and so far so good. But it's always those little things that you're so into your business, and there's so many things going on you just don't think about. So it's great to brainstorm with someone that you trust and is running a good program like you are. So I'm excited. So let's jump into it here, Andre. Let's start with you. When we were brainstorming a little bit before we hit record on this podcast, we were talking about your program, your coaching program for your affiliate marketing students. And one thing that you did, which I made a note of, is you offer a content audit that transitions or progresses into a deep dive into funnel to check first steps. So if we could, let's start with the content. You run a coaching program where you bring two people on each call and you audit their content. So first of all, what kind of content are they creating? What platforms? Does it vary? What do you see in most people use in your program?
Yeah, so the first thing I see, well, let's start with the content strategy or the content audit, but in reality, it's like an account audit, just to make it like broad, right? So we'll start with the content first. The content is what we're looking for is what kind of content they're creating. Because at first, I always tell them, to model other people, which is perfectly fine. You have to model other people that are doing great, that are getting viral videos, in order for you to actually get the first reach from your new audience, right? Now, the problem that I see is a lot in the beginning, especially for beginners, is how they're editing the videos, right? It could be the lighting. Maybe the lighting is not good. Maybe they haven't bought like a ring light, or just the lighting is not good because they don't know, right? When I first started my first videos, the lighting was horrible and I had no idea that was something that I needed to look out for, right? Now, the editing, right? Sometimes people do too many transitions. Sometimes people do extra stuff like they put stickers, they put a lot of value, or no value, they put a lot of stuff into their videos that is not needed, right? Simplicity sells more than a highly productive video. And that's one of the main things that I see with the content. And then eventually, for some of them, it feels like they're trying too hard, right? When they're modeling somebody, I feel like it's out of their comfort zone. and you can tell on their videos, right? So at some point they have to add, just how I say it, is that you have to add your own juice, right? You have to make it seem like it's you, it's actually you. Don't try to be somebody else. Just try to be yourself and add that to your content, because you can tell when somebody is being fake, I guess you can say, right? So that's one of the main things that I notice when people are starting with their
Yeah.
content.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. So I took some notes about the five different topics. So let's kind of address these individually really quickly. That way the
Okay.
listener can get a really good understanding of what they need to improve. So I'll just work in reverse order. The last thing you were talking about is trying too hard. And you mentioned that people aren't being themselves. And I
Yeah.
talk about this all the time. I think this is so important because when you're yourself, you have a competitive advantage. You're like nobody else. And sometimes it's better to be different than good or an expert, right? People like to, our brains are wired for novelty. They like to see something new, a new approach, a different angle, a different delivery, a different viewpoint, whatever. So you have a competitive advantage built in as long as you don't try too hard, right? Try to be somebody else. We can model, but we don't have to become somebody else. And that's the way the algorithms work as well. So you want to take advantage of that. If people find you, and some people find you and they really resonate with you because you're a little bit different, you're a little bit unique, you're authentic, you're transparent, whatever it is that makes you different, then the algorithms are simply just going to find more people who like you for you. So you said trying too hard. Can you give me an example or talk about what you're seeing with your students so people can get a good idea of maybe what they should avoid doing?
Yeah. Trying too hard, as far as, let's say if I make a video, right? And I have my own juice. I always put my own juice in my videos. So I always put my own personality, my own charisma. And I feel like people try to model that same thing that I'm putting out, right? And it won't be the same for them because they don't have the same personality that I do. And you can tell on the video. For example, there's people that they look uncomfortable, when they're doing, it's like they're pushing too hard out of their comfort zone instead of just letting it flow, and because you can model the same video, but it doesn't have to be my same characteristics. You get me? So it could be like they can remake it on their own because that's who they are, but you can still model the video. So just little things like that. That's the main things that I see when people just look uncomfortable. They doesn't look natural.
So basically, relax is a good thing. Relax. Don't stress about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I don't think that you have to replicate the whole everything, right? You can
Right.
model it, and then don't forget who you are.
Yeah. Because you don't have to nail Andre's personality in order to be successful. I mean,
Exactly.
Andre's very successful, but so are a lot of other people. And, it comes down to being comfortable and relaxing and just trying to deliver thought-provoking content maybe or interesting content or something that's just going to get people to think, hey, what is this all about? I think that's a huge factor. So before that, you mentioned you said stickers. People put all this crap on the screen, and I get it. Like if text can draw the attention, then well, having a bumblebee on the sticker or a dollar sign on the sticker, more is better is the idea, is the thought process. But that's one
Yeah.
thing when I look at someone's content, and I don't do audits yet. I might start doing them because I like the idea, but I'll just randomly take a coaching student, and after we get off the call, I'll go search them up on TikTok or whatever and see what's going on. And a lot of times it's good because that's what we're teaching. But every now and then I'll see that exact same thing where it's like you're met with this wall of text and you can't focus on anything. And if you can't focus, if there's crap all over the place, it's just like, gross. I'm gonna move on. I'm not gonna try to decipher all that. It may as well be in Greek or Chinese or whatever language you don't speak because it doesn't matter. It's like if you walk into a room and there's just crap everywhere, it can feel overwhelming and not welcoming and just uncomfortable. So why don't you dive into a little bit of that? What we kind of talked about what you see, but if you want to give an example, go ahead. But what do you tell folks to do instead? Is there something you tell them to focus on instead of trying to get more on the screen?
Yeah, so I have a module on my program that is called Content University. Okay. And in that module, I go through the steps, right? the first lesson is you're one video away. Okay, because you are literally one video away to go viral, and then everything your account will explode. It can change your life. The second lesson is I show them how to find videos to model, which is super simple, right? But then the third lesson, I have one of my coaches, and he teaches how to edit a 7-second video, right? All my videos that I do, everything that I do on my social media platforms is literally a 5 to 8 second video, simple, just me in the video, a trending sound, right? Or a sound that is popular, and then a simple edit with a text. So it's literally text, the video, and then the sound. That's it. That's literally how I show my students. That's literally how I grow all my accounts. Simple as that. So every time I see somebody adding too much stuff, adding too much colors, adding stickers, right? I always tell them, all right, I need you to go back to the module so you can actually see how to edit the videos. You don't have to spend hours or 30 minutes trying to make your video perfect when in reality it can just be hit record, add the text, add the sound. Simple as that, right? And then that's what gets a lot of views too. So it's something that people don't like hearing, right? Because they like, no, well, I want to make it like this, right? But at the same time, it's what works, right? So that's one of the things that I see. And the cool thing about those modules, that module too, is that we show them step by step, like how to record that video, literally. So we show them how they're supposed to model it, right? And it takes less than 5 minutes just to model a popular video that I have made.
Right. It takes all the guesswork out of it. And that's the thing, I like to call it like a steak and dessert or steak and candy thing, where it's like if you want to deliver value and you want to go into those videos that really teach to build your brand and build the relationships and establish you going forward, that's great. If you're excited about what you're learning and you want to share with other people, that's awesome. But get the reach first, right? Because if you're not getting reach yet on a new account and you're sharing value, nobody's seeing it. But if you do those 7 second or 5 second or 9 second videos that are simple, like you said, and like you said, one video away, one gets 20,000 views, let's say. Well, the way the algorithms typically work is they're gonna be like, well, this person really liked this video. Let's show them a couple more videos to see if they stick. That's when you have the opportunity after that to do what you want if you want. Obviously, you don't have to. You could stick with the reach and the traffic, but you can at that point hit a little harder, give some steak, give some meat, give some value. And then once you start to see like, okay, maybe that's a few videos in the row. Hey, let's go back to one of those candy approaches or dessert approaches where we're getting reach again. Is that a pretty fair strategy that would work with what you're saying there, Andre?
Yeah, 100%. Look, when you're starting an account and you're creating content, it's not going to be the same type of content that when you have 100,000 followers, right? Your content will shift 100%. And that's up to you to shift it, right? You can just be like the same type of videos throughout the whole thing. You have to shift it at some point. So the strategy is different. When you start an account, the strategy is completely different than when you already have an account that has grown a lot. So that's what happens a lot with a lot of people where they think they have to make videos like me right now, but in reality, they have to make videos how I started. You get me? That's a big difference when it happens right now with social media.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I redid my program for 2024. And one of the things I did before I launched is, it was just a rework. But one of the things I did is I took all the top, affiliate marketers out there. But instead of looking at their content, it took forever. But I scrolled all the way back to their first videos and I started taking pages and pages and pages of notes. And what you
Yeah.
see is a very distinct pattern. It's like, yep, there's the key to starting a new account. And it's really interesting because after I did that, um, I revived a couple of my accounts that were sitting out there and they were just, no views. I mean, it was,
Yeah.
500 views or whatever. And I was like, well, let's see what happens. And you do it. And I hadn't touched those accounts in months, but it was easier than creating new ones. So I just went back in there and after a couple of videos, not the first one necessarily. It takes, practice and a little bit of luck when you're doing those things. But then you get the video that pops off and then you're good. You know what I mean? Then you can
Yep.
you can deliver the meat and it really, really works. So Great stuff there. One of the things that you mentioned, which the third thing I wrote down that I haven't really considered, I guess, or haven't really jumped into, is you talked about transitions. What do you? I'm really curious. What are you seeing uh, with problems in the transitions inside a video?
Yeah, the transitions that I'm talking about is when they add some type of transition, like a cut, right, in their videos. Um, for example, the warp, right, like a warp. It warps out and then it comes back up. Like that type of those type of transitions, which I think they're just they make me dizzy, to be honest, when I watch those videos like that, right? And it makes me not want to watch them. For example, another one is when they have the image and then it goes in the spiral and then it becomes the image, right? Like those type of transitions, I'm like, to me, they're pointless. Like you don't need to be making those type of transitions on your videos to promote whatever you're promoting. Because if I look at that, I'm not even gonna read what you're saying or hear what you're saying. I'm just gonna skip it. So those
I
are
kind of
the transitions. Transitions, there's not that much to talk about transitions, to be honest, but it's just
yeah.
like I will just eliminate them.
You just don't do them. That's simple as that. The only lesson you need. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because anytime you add a gimmick that's obviously a gimmick, then the video seems gimmicky, therefore not probably worth watching. Now, is that similar to the second thing you mentioned with editing, or is that a different category when you're talking about editing? Are you talking about over editing or under editing or something completely different?
Yeah, the editing goes hand in hand with the stickers, the transitions, the warps, everything that you put on the video. So that's like the overall idea. I think the last thing I say was the descriptions, right? Did you take a note on that?
I didn't take a note about the description, so let's go ahead and talk about
Okay,
that. Then I have one more thing on my list that we'll hit after that, but go ahead.
perfect. Perfect. So the descriptions, right? The descriptions, what I see right now is the SEO descriptions, right? You need to put a lot of SEO in your description and have a lot of words in it. And that's something that is new. I mean, not new, but it's new for short form content, right? Because before nobody really care about SEO with the short form content. But then on TikTok, for example, if you search something, TikTok videos pop up, right? But it doesn't mean that you need to have an essay on your descriptions, right? Our past guest, remember his name, Paul Griffith. He talked about SEO as well, right? Where you can have simple descriptions, ask them a questions that you don't even have to put hashtags, but your call to action can be comment affiliate to learn more. And then you are already categorizing your video just because of that simple call to action, but you don't need to put a paragraph description trying to hit that SEO. And that's something that I notice a lot with Instagram, at least as well, right? In Instagram, all these creators are talking about SEO. Let's do a long description and hit every keyword that you can hit. It's not why they grew. It's not why their accounts got so big by doing long descriptions. Because, like you say, when you scroll down and then see how they started that account, it's nothing but short descriptions, 5 hashtags, and then nothing but call to actions on the descriptions.
Right.
That's
It's
it.
the evolution of your content that comes into play after you're getting the views. And I think it's important to note that, when you're first getting started, you need reach. If you don't have eyeballs in the room, then there's no one to hear your message. But on the other side of that is once you're getting the eyeballs, I think it's a great opportunity to extend beyond and offer the value because a lot of times the problem is it's hard to get a value video to go viral, right? But value videos and it doesn't have to be like you're teaching advanced concepts. It can be something simple or it can be just a value video in the sense of, hey, here's how I got started. Here's some of the bad things that happened that I wish I knew. Here's some of the good things that I'm glad I found. You know what I mean? Like all that stuff is value. Reviewing a product that you tried that you weren't happy with or you loved, that's value. But the bottom line is once you're already getting the views, you can create those value videos and get reach with your inherent audience. And then those typically drive better leads in the sense that, hey, this person now just not only saw your content, but now they get to know you, like you, and probably trust you. So they drive a lot of leads, but you have to be able to get those reach. And the way you do is with those shorter videos ahead of time. So that's excellent. And TikTok SEO, you're the Instagram expert, so I don't know too much about that, but TikTok SEO, that's a great time to use or a great thing to put into those value videos. If you're trying to teach something or giving tips or sharing a strategy or finding six things that didn't work or whatever, that's when you should go really SEO heavy because what can happen is those videos can rank. And, one thing that I think is interesting that often gets overlooked is if you create a new TikTok account, for example, which I do often, and I'm just scrolling through the feeds and stuff like that of a new account, the algorithm's trying to figure out what I'm interested in. And every time I create a new account, what videos do I get shown first? Not first, but once I start seeing the marketing videos, it's always from the big creators who are crushing it. So what that's telling me is the reason they're crushing is not because of necessarily that they're getting tons of views now. They're crushing it because everyone who jumps onto the TikTok platform sees their videos first, which then brings them into the make money or affiliate marketing niche. And then they remember who they saw first. So they get those commissions as well. You know what I mean? It's kind of like the market's working to educate them. So those are things you got to consider. But the point I'm getting at is if you can rank a video that offers value and introduces people to an opportunity, then that might be someone's first introduction to it. And then you're going to win. You know what I mean? And the
Yeah.
reason those late videos from those big creators are going, being served to the new accounts is because their account has proven to TikTok that people respond to them basically. So they're like, oh, people love these. So since they're new to TikTok, let's see if they're the type of person who loves this video. So interesting note about SEO, something worth investigating. But I'll move on to the last category that I wanted to talk about with you, and that was lighting, is what I wrote down. This is a big one. So go ahead and give your take on what you're seeing and what people should do better with the lighting aspect, and then I'll kind of talk about it a little bit as well.
Yeah, so when you have a low lighting, when you have low lighting on your videos, basically the platforms don't like it, right? Because they categorize it as low quality, right? So that's the first thing that's happening when you have low lighting on your video. Now, if you don't have a ring light, right, or a big light for you to basically record your video. It's so simple that you can just go to the window, open the blinds, and then the sunlight will give you the lighting that you're looking for. Like in your house, you can record outside your house and stuff like that. But yeah, that's the main thing. It categorizes as low lighting or low quality for the video. And usually when that happens, your videos don't get pushed out to a newer audience or to people that don't follow you, for example.
Yeah, 100%. And and I look back at my history with TikTok. I started right around February, March of 2020, and that's right around spring break time. That's right around the end of the school year. That's right around summertime. So what was I doing when I blew up on TikTok? I mean, I already had a successful business, so we were traveling a ton. We were going on spring break. We were going on, vacations and stuff like that. And it was nice out. So I was sitting by the pool. And the point is you don't have to show the vacations or the pool or whatever. The point is I was filming a lot of my content outside. And because it was short content, it was really easy to do. Just put some text over it, or give a short blurb. But the bottom line is my lighting was good because I was outside in the sun. You know what I mean? It wasn't overexposed. I wasn't with the. That's something else to consider. Don't have the sun directly on your face, especially with me with my bald head. That's going to overexpose the video. It's going to look not too great as well. But sit in the if you go outside, sit in the shade, but make sure the sun's out, and you'll get great lighting. Or like you said, prop your phone up in the window. Stack some books if you have to. Use what you got, but consider that, and that'll make a huge difference in your content. So, excellent tips, real actionable stuff. Is there anything that I missed that you want to chat about before maybe we transition a little bit and talk about kind of a different approach beyond the tech, beyond the editing, beyond the trying too hard and lighting and stuff like that? Because I want to talk a little bit about what I'm focusing on in 2024 for the benefit of the listener. But is there anything that I forgot to mention before we jump over to that route?
Well, I think that was it for the content audit. Um, we can
Oh,
talk
we got
about
to
your
talk
stuff
about
first.
what else you do. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Got to
Oh
talk
yeah,
about the
so
funnels
there's
too. Yeah. So what else? We're talking about the. Go ahead. I'll turn it back over to you and just shut up.
so yeah, basically, this is why I said in the beginning, it was an account audit, right? So the first thing is the first part. The first part is the content audit. We check out their content, how they're doing it. The second part is the funnel, right? So when we audit in my coaching course, when my coach audits the accounts for two people, the second thing that he looks for is he goes into their funnels, right? Because there's always some mistakes that people make that they don't realize they're making them. So that's a great opportunity for us, the coaches, to actually take a look at their work, right? It's like taking a look, like grading their homework, basically. Like that. That's what it means. So we go on their funnels. We check that everything's edited right. We check that their story is good, right? Their picture is good. We look at their bridge page video because that's also important. And then the next thing that we look is that they have a link to their affiliate link, right? That's important. Now, what we do is we opt into their funnels, so we at least get their first email. So we make sure that the whole integration is working correctly. Once we get their first emails, then we check their affiliate link as well, because there has been some instances where we go in the funnels, everything looks great, the bridge page video is great, but then when we get to the affiliate link, they don't have the right affiliate link, right? So that's just a missed opportunity that we will probably will never have found. First of all, because we didn't go and investigate, and also that affiliate might have never even realized it either, right? So this is so important to get to know those steps, especially in the coaching calls, because just how we were saying, when we order somebody, there's people watching, there's people listening to that. So then if we find a problem, 100% everybody's looking for their own funnel, see if they made that same mistake.
Yeah, when
So
they
that's
see that it's
the second
possible to make
step.
that mistake, then they're like, "Oh, I better go double check my funnel just to make sure everything's going to the right place."
Exactly. Exactly. So that's the second step of the audit that we do, which is great. I mean, we're able to find mistakes, and we have found mistakes already.
Yeah.
So it gives more clarity to for the students as well.
Right. So basically you're starting from the content platform and you're acting like a potential customer. Clicking on the link, make sure it goes to the funnel, make sure um there's an easy to find link, right? Like one of the things we were talking about is you talked about sometimes people have maybe like a link tree or something like that, where when you click to the link in the bio, then there's all these different options. Or the other thing they might have is a bio that's really confusing. So let's start there because that's the
Yeah.
first thing the customer is going to see. They watch a piece of your content and they're like, "Hey, this is interesting. Let me go over to the bio. What are you seeing that's wrong? What can people do better?"
Yeah, so for the bio thing is sometimes people put too much information, or they put too many lines on their bio. And then when you put too many lines, because you're able to, right? I think you have like 200 characters to put. But when you have too many lines, then people need to click more in order for you to expand and see what you're actually trying to say. Most people don't do the step, right? So the most of your bio goes thrown to the trash because you have too much information there. So the first thing that I like when people do is the first thing that they have to put, the first line is what do you do, right? The second line is it could be a call to action, or it could be how can you help somebody, right? Somebody goes on your account, how can you help them, right? And then the third line is the call to action for the link. So there's two call to actions. One is click here to get started, and then the other call to action that I like to put is send me a message, which is more direct in order for them to get more information. So those are the first things that I look on the biography.
And this sounds like it's specific to Instagram mostly, or
Oh,
Instagram.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, 100%.
Okay.
It's specific for Instagram.
And do you use, so you mentioned two different call to actions that you like. Do you use both or do you recommend folks choose one or the other?
I use both, right?
Okay.
Because one call to action is for more information, and
Hmm.
then the other call to action is for the action takers. Click here to get started.
Got it. So it's kind of like click here to start or message DM me affiliate to learn more.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's good
100%.
because
Yeah, and
you
that's
have
just for
both
Instagram.
options very quickly. And some people, I'm the type of person who's like, just give me the link and let me click on it and make my own decision. But there's other people who are like, I need to talk to somebody. And so you're kind of addressing both sides of it.
Exactly, exactly. And that's for Instagram. But for TikTok is way different. For TikTok is I think you only get like two lines at
Hmm.
most. You can put that much things on your biography. So the first line would be what do you do? The second line could be your call to action. And the third line could be go follow me on my Instagram,
Hmm.
right? Because on TikTok it's really hard to talk to somebody. But on Instagram, you're able to grow it and then it can explode and then find leads every single day by just creating content.
Right, 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 right. Okay, cool. Now, someone looks at your bio, and they click at a link. Where should that link go?
On where? What platform?
Well, I don't know. What tell me the difference. Should it go a different place? Your link go a different place on Instagram versus TikTok?
Oh no, 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 no. The link is always to your funnel, right? Like we don't show them how to do link tree, beacons, stand store. Like that's just how we talked about the principles of marketing.
Mhm.
We don't show that to anybody. And if we do see people using that, we're always against it, right? So I get my slipper on and I'm like trying to hit.
Yeah, what I
Say it in
found,
Spanish, your chancla, your chancla.
yeah, exactly. So that's what I found too, is that if you try to let a customer make a decision, then they're gonna choose nothing. So you just gotta tell them where to go. I learned
Yeah,
this in my print on demand days. I probably talked about this in the past where it's like I was creating t-shirts and I'd have, you can get green or red or blue. And then it was like, what if we just change it to black or gray or black or white, depending on the design. It was like conversions went up. And it's just like you got to just give people, tell them what to do, basically. Tell them what to do. And okay, so they go over to the funnel and they click over there and you have a first page of the funnel. What are you seeing? That could be wrong on the landing page of the funnel.
yeah. A lot of times, not a lot of times. Sometimes the pop up doesn't pop up right when they click the buttons. So that's one of the things that we check. Sometimes their story is too long.
Hmm.
Sometimes their picture is way oversized.
Hmm.
So it's just little things like that, like the editing. Because I have templates for them to use funnel, right? So it's not that difficult for them to edit it. But we do see the instances that is like that. For example, on System IO, this is a big problem that I see with my students. Um, they edit the version for the desktop, but they don't edit the version for the mobile, right? So when they go and on the mobile side, they're like, okay, well, I just edited it. Why can't I see it, right? Because they haven't really edited again for the mobile side. So a lot of times that happens. A lot of people sometimes they leave my picture in the front page where it should be their picture, because then if somebody goes on their funnel, they're like, okay, well, that's not you. Who's this guy?
Right.
Right? So they have to be able to change that as well.
Yeah, that's first of all, the mobile and desktop is important. That's something I cover in my step-by-step training inside my program because it's so important and so often gets overlooked is, you're building your funnel typically on your laptop or your desktop computer and you're previewing it and it looks good, but you're forgetting about mobile. And then everything kind of reshifts and it's dynamic or whatever. So it shifts a little bit. Instead of the picture being on the left, it goes to the top or whatever, things like that. So you really have to make sure you're editing both. And this is really for any funnel building software, not just System IO. It's same for ClickFunnels and every other funnel building software. It's going to look different on mobile. So you have to make sure that it looks good on both. You have to check it out. You have to double check it, not just in the preview either. I think that's something important to
Mm.
remember. A preview, especially on system, will look a little bit different than when you go to the live website. So after you get everything looking good in your preview, then double check it on your desktop or laptop, double check it on your phone to make sure everything looks good. And I'll tell you a couple of my pet peeves because not because it bugs me, but it's a pet peeve of mine because it ruins the conversion rates on your funnel is things that you mentioned. First of all, an oversized picture is just you know what I mean? Like now it looks like it's all about you. And remember, it's all about the customer. Obviously, the way I teach it is you should have a picture on your funnel, especially on the landing
Yeah.
page. So people know, especially as an affiliate marketer, your customers are watching your content. They should click a link and then understand they're still in your ecosystem. It's not like you're direct linking them to some third party product. So there should definitely be a picture on your funnel so people know they're still in your ecosystem when they click over to the website. But I don't mind putting it below the button, right? The call to action button or the email opt-in button, the pop-up button. And it doesn't have to be big. It can be tiny. You know what I mean? Just has to be there somewhere. And the reason I don't necessarily think it should be on the top, which it's fine if it is, but one thing that really bugs me, another pet peeve of mine, is this happens on mobile all the time, is when you click over to someone's link and you got to scroll down to find the opt-in button. Like the button should be what they call above the fold. So if you look at one of my websites, if I click over on mobile, I'll kind of throw this up there on the screen so hopefully everybody can see it. If you're watching on YouTube, maybe you give it a second to focus. The bottom line is I have my short, three or four paragraphs, and then as soon as they click over, the button's right there on the screen. They can see it.
So they don't have to scroll.
They don't have to scroll down.
check.
They don't have to scroll down to find the button because that's what I want them to click. I want them to opt in. Let's see if I can get this to focus again. It's right there. It's already on the screen. And what they can barely see is obviously I've spent a lot of time just making this just perfect, but as they can barely see my picture down there, so they know they're in my ecosystem. So if they scroll down, they could see my picture and just a little bit about me. But the bottom line is that button should be right there as soon as they scroll over. And if you got to adjust your text size or take some of the words out, please do that. Now, the last thing that bugs me is when your logo is just like a square image that it just completely looks out of place. It looks like you use like the old clip art to create it and then post it. And it's just like the whole page is white, but then you have this big square logo that's a circular logo inside a square box that's bright red or something like that. Do you know what I'm talking about, Andre? Am I describing it well enough? Have you seen?
No, no,
I don't
haven't
want to
seen
pull
that.
anybody, but if the logo just looks out of place, the point I'm getting at is if, obviously you can go on Fiverr and have someone create a logo basically with a transparent background where you put it up and the background's going to show and you're going to have some design around it. But don't just put like a square image that was created in Canva and make that your big logo and it just looks like a box sitting there on the funnel. Either make the
Okay.
background of the logo the same color as the background of your funnel, or get rid of the background on the logo and make it transparent so the background of the funnel looks the same and the logo really pops. Or this works too, just get rid of the damn logo. No, you know what I mean? No, if you can't create a decent looking logo for $5 on Fiverr or by making it transparent background on Canva, then just get rid of it. You don't need it. You know what I mean? So those are kind of my three big ones.
But the logo, right? Why are they even creating a logo?
What's
You
that?
get me? Like, why are they even creating a logo, right? That's my question right there. Like,
You don't need it.
it's just to brand they're barely starting. You get me?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me to create a logo and put it on your website, on your
Yeah.
funnel at least.
If you do want a logo, then make it small and make it kind of almost disappear. But the bottom line is you don't need a logo. But if you do, make sure it looks like, just go to other websites. You can probably pull up Apple, you probably pull up Nike, you probably pull up Amazon, and you'll see their logos are, they just look like they fit. They're not blasting you in the face. It's going to do more harm than good, basically, unless you nail it. So just get rid of the logo altogether.
What do you think about branding also for the funnel? No branding as logo wise, but more like the color palettes, right? How important is that, especially when somebody is in your social media account, right? You want to have the same branding all throughout your business.
Yeah, I mean, so I think, if that's your strength, then go for it. Do it. You know what I mean? That's amazing. It looks more professional. I'll be the first to admit that's not my strength. Like, sometimes I wonder if I'm part colorblind. Like that, it's that bad. It's like, I'm always asking my wife when we're in the store, is that shirt green or is that brown or is that black? You know what I mean? It's just like, I can't sing like that. Whatever that gene is, I think it's linked because I can't. I draw a little bit for some reason, but everything else, with design, it's not my strength. So what I'm saying is if you can perfect it, if you're good at it, then absolutely. But if you're not good at it, self-audit yourself and say, branding's not really my thing. then what I do is I just pretty much go black and white or gray and black. You know what I mean? It's just like simple. Let's focus on the words because the words are powerful. The words are what build the connection. And that is what I see is like, I don't want to generalize or be sexist, but a lot of times I'll see girls use a lot of pinks and purples and stuff like that. And it's just like, I know enough about branding where I can go to search like a color wheel tool and see what colors are complementary. And obviously, they did not do that because if everything's just like, if it looks like someone's having a seizure on the screen because there's all these different colors, you're doing more harm than good. So that's my view on branding.
Yeah, because there's a psychology for colors too. Some colors attract people, some colors reject people. You get me? I don't know really like the metrics of it. We shouldn't get into it because I don't know much about it, but there is some psychology to color where some of those attract more people, or some of them are people are able to buy from you more easily, or some colors are more trusted for your audience. Like there's a lot of things that it makes sense, for people to use it if they know what they're using it for.
Yeah, here's what I'll tell you about color theory, what I know and what has worked for me and what I've used. And it's very simple. The first kind of rule of building a funnel is your call to action button should be a color that pretty much shows up nowhere else on your funnel. So if you want to get into a funnel and you want a lot of earth tones and browns and greens or whatever and blues, that's fine. If you got the knack for that, go for it. But then your button should be like a yellow, right? Because you don't want your button to. So if you got browns and greens on your funnel, then you don't want your button to be a different version of brown or green. You want it to pop. You want it to stand out. You want it to be something that is completely different. That way, if you look at a page, it's like, well, that's the odd color. You notice what's unique or what's different. That's what stands out, right? So you want that button to be just completely different than every other color on your funnel. So that's kind of rule number one. Rule number two, when we're talking about button colors, is I either use green because greens go, right? Um, I and these are call to action buttons. Green, or I use yellow and black. Yellow button with black text. Why? Because that's what Amazon uses, and they're the biggest e-commerce with all this testing stuff. They use yellow with black, then it's good enough for me. Or blue, because blue is typically trusted. But other than that, I don't use any other button colors. So either green, yellow with black text, or blue, and that's what I know about colors.
Yeah, that's cool. That's interesting. So yeah, that's basically the second part of my audits. Making sure that their websites, their links, their affiliate links are in order. Their bridge page video, right? Clear story, and then clear expectations, which is really important. And then that's basically it for the audits. From them, everybody is able to learn from it. But you have any final thoughts? Because I'm excited to hear what you're gonna say about your coaching program as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just what you highlight there is just so important of being like the user, like the customer, and just going through your funnel and going through it with a fine tooth comb and just does everything look good? Is it easy to read? I'm not the best copywriter, but one thing I do is if I'm writing an email or writing copy on a funnel, and this is a pretty good actionable tip, is I'll copy it, copy and paste it, and I'll post it in a Google Doc, like a blank Google Doc, because that's going to help me with spell check, but also it's going to help me with grammar check. But also there's something about it. When you're in there editing it inside your editor, it's like you've probably rewritten it once or twice, and you've probably read and thought about everything you're going to say, and you can very easily just kind of glide or gloss over some content. Like, yeah, it sounds fine to me, but when you post it in a Google Doc, it's like it changes everything, and it almost helps you read it for the first time again. And what I found is if I'm like, I'll find like, that's not really clear what I'm saying, then I'll rework that sentence, or, ooh, that's kind of slowing me down a little bit. Then I'll rework that sentence, because you want people to digest the information quickly, but then get the point, right? And generally, when you write an email or you write, especially copy on your landing page, it's like, ooh, how can I say that same thing in 7 words instead of 12 words, right? Like that's really what I focus
Yeah,
on a lot.
that's awesome. Yeah, so copywriting is important as well when building emails, when building your funnels. I also had to go through a lot of copywriting lessons, when I did my funnel for everybody to use it. So yeah, that's super important as well. I think it goes well in hand with the information that you have to put, because you don't
Yeah.
want to put information that is not valuable, right?
Yeah, and that's exactly right. Like the best copy in the world on your funnel, and if you improve it by 20%, if you make your copy 20% better, you're going to get marginal returns. It's not going to be the difference between success and failure, and that's something to remember. But if you have something so off-putting on your funnel, that can mean the difference of success and failure. Like instead of trying to make it perfect, just make sure you're not doing harm. And I think that's a good way to look at it when you're getting started. So I think we covered that. That ended up being really, really good. So I'll just kind of deliver my abridged version of what's going on in my content strategy. So really in 2024, as I've mentioned, I really wanted to rework my program because like you said in the beginning, the only thing that matters is results for the students. And I started focusing on a lot about content. Sure, things we talked about, earlier, like not what are people doing now, but how do you start a new account and all that stuff. But I'm taking a more analytical approach to where the market is and where the market is going in 2024 for my students. And what do I mean by that? Well, back when we started, Andre, especially when I started, I can't speak for you, but when I started, man, like I joked, I didn't invent affiliate marketing on TikTok, but I might have. You know what I mean? I was one of the first people. I didn't have anybody to follow. But you have first mover advantage then. And really what you're trying to do at that point is really just educate the market about an opportunity. If you do a Google search, for example, or Google trend search for affiliate marketing, I mean, you'll see a spike that starts going up once short form content changed. And the reason is because before you had to be a self starter. If you wanted to make money online, you had to go Google search or YouTube search, how do you make money online? Now it's discovery algorithms. All you got to do is open your app, and someone's gonna be like, "Hey, are you a stay-at-home mom who wants to make $20,000 a week and 4 hours a day?" And you're like, "Yeah," you know what I mean. So a lot of people became educated really quickly. So that's kind of where it's transitioned. So what I'm seeing is obviously there's still millions of people who need to be introduced to affiliate marketing, but the market as a whole is moving down the stages of awareness. Meaning now people not only realize they wish they had more money, but now they also starting to realize, oh, there's low barriers to entry for making money online. You don't have to start an e-commerce store. You don't have to spend years growing an Instagram account. So like the barrier, like, oh, so even if they haven't heard about affiliate marketing or whatever model you're teaching it, now they're starting to understand that it is possible. So they're moving down the awareness phase journey, if you will. So what I'm really focusing on with my students is, okay, cool. Now we got more and more people who realize, hey, it is actually feasible to make money online, even as a beginner. One thing, why do they want to make money online? Right? It's not the money, right? You talked about this. I've talked about this. It's about being there for our children, being there for our kids, having the vacations, giving them the experiences. If you want to take them to Disney World, whatever, if you want to make sure they can do horse riding lessons or play all the sports that are more and more expensive every year. If you want to spend more time with your wife, if you want, like even if it's just a new car to get girls or whatever, you know what I mean? Like whatever your why is, that's the reason behind the money. And that's giving you an opportunity to stand out because we already know people want to make money, but why? And if you can address that why beyond the money, like the money is the vehicle to get you to your why, then you're going to resonate with your potential audience a lot more, and they're going to bond with you more quickly because as platforms mature, there's more and more competition. Short form content's not new anymore. Still an amazing opportunity, still incredible amount of reach as a new account using some of the strategies that you outlined today, Andre. But there's more noise out there than there was in 2020. So we have to go beyond the surface level stuff, I think, to really stand out. Because as I said earlier, it's better to be different than good. You have to be a fresh perspective. So focusing a lot on the why behind the thing is one thing that I'm focused on a lot going forward.
Yeah, because the main thing is, yeah, we talked about this before that episode where that dollar amount is losing the value when you see it in the content, right? You gave the perfect example where 3 years ago, making $1,200 a day was amazing, but now there's people making $20,000 a day which is also amazing. But at the same time, the value is not the same, right? Like the value of that dollar is not the same as before, I guess you can say, because there's just too many people doing it, and they're saturating the business just by that dollar number. But if you are able to shift that dollar number and not do much income claims, and you can shift it into your why, the examples that you just gave, your wife, your kids, everything, sports, then you're gonna differentiate yourself from those people just selling the number. Correct?
Right.
Am I wrong?
You're
Yeah.
right. And let me expand on that a little bit. And this is going to blow some people's minds. I'm not saying yours, Andre, but there's going to be some people listening to this who are going to just have a complete shift when I say this. When these income claims get crazy like they are now, and let me be clear, there's people making money on like TikTok that are making more money than I've ever made in my life. And they're making it in a year and a half. So it's crazy. But the point I'm getting at is, yeah, you start to see a little bit of number blindness where it's just all becomes a number and nothing stands out anymore. It's just like ad blindness. If you see the same ad 9 times, it just doesn't stand out anymore. If you drive to work 1,000 times, you just don't notice things. Like that's kind of where we're going. But also, and this is the mind blowing part, it's the perceived likelihood of success, right? If someone tells me I can make $300 a day online and I'm a brand new beginner, I might be like, well, that sounds pretty good. If someone tells me I'm going to make $20,000 a day online, like, I can't do that. That's bullshit. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing where, like, the example I like to give is, let's say the best marathon runner in the world was going to train me to run a marathon where I could win $1 billion. That's a pretty big number. But I'm like, dude, I can't run a marathon. I'll die in 2 miles. My perceived likelihood of achievement is absolutely zero. And so I'm not going to go forward. But if someone said, hey, I'm the best free throw shooter in the world. I'm going to show you how to make 5 free throws in a row that'll make you $10,000. Be like, let's train, boy, because I can make 5 free throws in a row. You know what I mean? So it's like that is something to consider. And I learn these things by coaching my students who are beginners and hearing about why they jump in. And they're like, sometimes you hear like, you're teaching actionable methods that are reasonable. For instance, I have one student who was talking to his sister about, maybe how much money I make every month. And his sister was like, crap, $1,000 a month would be great for me. You know what I mean? So it's like, you got to understand what people want and what they believe they can achieve in your messaging as well. So, I mean, that's something to consider. And that's
Yeah.
also where I'm going forward to kind of get onto the next topic with my students is, in the beginning, obviously we want to automate as much as possible because that's what I've done in my life. I've always prided myself on, being available, but not having to talk to everyone who ends up buying a $2,000 product from me. But before you can automate that, you have to understand, right? You have to understand pains, dreams, fears, goals, desires of your target market, right?
Exactly. Exactly. That actually gave me an idea to like a piece of content where you can just be like, I can't show you, or I won't show you how to make 200K a month, but I can show you how to make $100 a day. You get me? That would be a lot of people will resonate way more with that than I make 40K a month. Here's what you gotta do.
Right. That's 100% it. And it comes down to understanding what your market wants and think and believes that they can achieve, because it all comes down to belief. That's the number one thing I focus on for my conversion process, is getting people to believe in themselves, because when they believe in themselves, they take action. So that's where we're going forward. It's more like, all right, build your system, build your funnel, like Andrei was telling you earlier today in this episode. Get the basic email set up, welcome email, maybe an about you email, just to get them back into whatever thing you're promoting. But then before you build out a 30, 40-day email sequence, actually talk to customers, host a Q&A Zoom, get in the chats, send an email, say, hey, I'll be here for the next 4 hours. Send me an email, I'll answer any questions. And you start to understand folks, then you can address them with automation, but then you can also address them through your content and attract more folks as well.
Yeah. I I want to go back to what you said earlier too, because I remember when I first started, my I always need my content for my wife, not for the dollar amount. You get me? So my content was, I want to go on vacation. I want to buy a house. I want to get out of debt. That was my content focus, right? And then it shifted into the money, right? Like, I'm making this, I'm making that, I'm making that. But in reality, you should have just stayed with your why content, and you probably would have gotten way farther, in your way. But yeah, it makes a lot of sense where people are selling the number amount,
Yeah,
right? And and it's changing right now, especially with legendary marketer. You know how they did a video about the income claims that they gotta stop, the disclaimers and all of that. It's like everything is changing, but are people gonna do it? Probably not. They're probably gonna keep doing what they're doing right now. But I don't know. I feel like people might get worried when all of a sudden, their accounts get shut down or they lose their affiliate status. You get me? Just because of those income claims. Because, like I said, they're selling the number. They're not selling their why type of situation, right?
yeah, and momentum is a crazy thing. When momentum kicks in, you can't not make money. There's been periods where it's like, dude, I don't even know what I'm doing right now. I'm making 3 videos a week and I'm making, ridiculous amounts of money. But there's been other times where it's like, dude, I'm creating 4 videos a day and I'm not making, I say not making crap. I don't want to sound insensitive, but it's relative to the times when momentum is really kicking in, it's quite different. But the point I'm getting at is if you don't focus on learning how to build momentum, then eventually your momentum is going to run out and you're going to have to rebuild it again. And that's the hardest thing to do. It's exciting when you're building momentum the first time, but when it kind of drops off a little bit because maybe you were just making too many income claims or your account gets shut down and you have to rebuild it again, that can be tricky because that really tests who you are as a person because it's like, oh, I got to do all that again. Alternatively, though, you can stick to the why focused stuff and build your brand around it. And you know, maybe you won't have one $200,000 month, but maybe you'll have an infinite a number of $50,000 months. You know what I mean? And it's powerful. But the final thought on that, and then I have one more thing that I want to touch on before we bring this to a close. Um, but the final thought on this is really when we were talking about, Andrei, you're talking about you started off with the vacations and get out of debt, and then it transitioned into, hey, here's how much I'm making and all this stuff. Well, let's take this down to a principle of marketing or even a principle of human behavior, because that's what this is. This is humans. Marketing is humans. Making money is humans. Content is humans, right? No matter how much we talk about algorithms, it's humans. What are you talking about there? You're talking about a pain, debt, no vacations. You're talking about a pleasure, making 20, 30, 40, $60,000 a month. Well, those are our two drivers, pain or pleasure. We're either trying to get away from pain or move towards pleasure. Someone who, likes to drink might be trying to dull the pain or they might be trying to chase the euphoria. Um, you know, Someone who buys a car might need a way to get to work or they might want to look cool. Pain and pleasure triggers. It's one or the other, always. And so we should tap into that as marketers. But the bigger driver is pain. Getting away from pain is stronger than running towards pleasure. And the example I always use is man, if a taco truck pulled out in my front yard right now, I love tacos, but I'm not going to cut this podcast short to go get my favorite food. However, if the office catches on fire, I'm sorry, this session is over and I'm running out the door. Why? Because the pain of getting burned is a bigger driver than the pleasure of eating some delicious street car tacos. You know what I mean? So that's something to consider when you're thinking about your messaging as well.
That's a great way of putting it. There's same outcome, but just different ways to get in there, right? That's exactly what you're saying, which makes a lot of sense, honestly, because some people, like you say, they want to buy a cool car or they want to just get to work. You get me? Same outcome. You're gonna get the same thing that you're gonna get to point A to point B, but what is your motive? You get me? The
Right.
motive actually makes more sense.
And it makes people take action. Like, for example, right now, um, my wife and I have been looking for a new car for her. I mean, obviously she has a car, but we're looking for a new car. We've been looking for months now because we don't know what we want. We don't know if we want 7-seater, 5-seater. We've kind of been playing around with it. But I guarantee you, if we didn't have a car and our kids needed to get to school, we'd have a car today. You see what I'm saying? Because the pain of not being able to
Yeah.
get, so it's just such a greater motivator. And um, hopefully we covered that. But last thing I want to talk about, and this will take about 2 minutes, is another thing we're focusing on here is, you talk about systems. You create content, you drive people to your funnel, and you follow up with email. Simple system that's pretty much used no matter what you're marketing. But you have to have congruency in your campaign. Who are you trying to attract, right? If you're selling an affiliate marketing course or coaching program, are you trying to attract the newbie who's never heard of it before? Or are you trying to attract someone who's tried it but failed, right? Two different markets for the same program. Doesn't matter. Both
Right.
work. You should probably be trying to attract yourself, but it doesn't matter. But then when they come into your funnel, the messaging on the funnel should speak to whoever you're trying to attract. Because you're going to talk to a newbie who's never heard about affiliate marketing but might be interested, different than you're going to talk to someone who's done affiliate marketing and failed for 6 months, right? One is a cool opportunity. One is a new opportunity, right? If someone's failed, you want to introduce them to a new opportunity. If someone's getting started, you want to introduce them to an easy or a cool opportunity or a low-hanging fruit opportunity. So you just adjust your messaging on your funnel. Then they're going to hit a bridge page video. It should address your target market, whichever one it is. Same thing with your email follow-up. You should know, and this is why it's so important to speak to your customers in the beginning, is whoever you're attracting, try to attract the same person, and then figure out like what their pains, their fears, their objections are, so you can address those directly. Because you're going to address different objections for someone who's never done affiliate marketing before than you are someone who's done and tried and failed. Same thing with losing weight or whatever your niche is. It doesn't matter. You need congruency in your funnel to get the conversions.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, but just how you say it, though, it works, right? For anybody,
Mhm.
right? Like, but you need to be consistent with your funnel, with the message that you're trying to give. Because anybody can come in, just how you say, somebody that has never made money with affiliate marketing, but they've been doing it for 3 years, they can see the congruency in your funnel about beginners, for example, getting results. So that person that has not gotten those results but has experience will probably look at your funnel and be like, okay, I need those results that those beginners are doing, right? Because there maybe I'm missing something.
A hundred
And
percent.
that makes a lot of sense.
And it doesn't have to be night or day, but you can adjust your wording even to like you're suggesting here. How do we cater to both sides of it? And I can't give you the answer here in 2 minutes or however much longer this podcast is going to go, but I can tell you to think about it, focus on it. Does the same person, you know, see messaging that speaks to them throughout the entire course of your campaign? And that's the thing. Once you talk to your customers and you can overcome the objections and cater to the dreams and desires of the people you're getting in, then you can go turn around and create content that attracts more of those people that are going to come into your optimized funnel. And that, my friend, is the flywheel effect, and that's how you build momentum.
Perfect. 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 I think that's a great way to finish this episode. I know we went a little over an hour, but it's always great to talk to you, Brian. I always look forward every week to just have a conversation with you. That's honestly why I enjoy it so much.
Yeah, I mean, I take more notes during these podcasts than I do watching a YouTube video or a webinar. I mean, I had to go to a second page today, so this was a good one. Always a pleasure to talk to you, Andre. Um, yeah, thanks for listening, listener. We appreciate that as well.
See you, everybody. We'll see you on the next episode of the Evolve Marketing Podcast.